Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are having a fantastic day. So today's upload is going to be a video about just a long range outlook, what to expect, what's to come in terms of rain, precip temperatures, and what else there may be, whatever else there may be. So if you guys would like to consider subscribing to this channel, I had all sorts of weather related content. Feel free to do so. If you would like to like the video if you're a returning viewer, that'd be amazing as well, so thank you for doing that. We are getting towards the fall months. Soon the winter outlooks will be coming out. It's probably the 21st. I'll make one July 21st, so that'll be coming out soon, so get ready. But as of now, let's talk about the pattern change. So let's take a look at the GFS. This is a global forecasting system model, and this is basically showing us the precipitation rate in millimeters per hour on the U.S. And let's take this so we could see the whole United States. As of now, there's gonna be a building heat across the central part of the country, a little bit cooler across the west, and maybe across extreme parts of northeast. And generally, it's not gonna be wet. There's gonna be thunderstorms, patchy thunderstorms across several areas, like maybe like the Dakotas. You can see here's like it's stalled out front tomorrow. Oh wait, tomorrow's Thursday, so this is Thursday. You can see fairly dry. Friday maybe a little bit more, but generally, if you get under a thunderstorm, yes, you'll see a downpour. This air mass is very humid, but it's a heat dome, so it really puts a cap on the thunderstorms, and really no big rain threat. No widespreadness. Maybe Monday, Tuesday, the biggest area of rain is probably to the north, as we have this high pressure just absolutely sitting right here, and it's not really doing much. It's kind of spitting that warm air to the north. That was the worst arrow I've possibly drawn in a while. But it basically just sends these thunderstorms along this track, and this is called the ring of fire pattern. That's what they like to refer to it. We've seen more impressive ring of fire patterns. I mean, yeah, the precip will be, it'll be high parts of the upper plains, but it won't be absurdly high. If there is some thunderstorm activity, it will be pretty severe, or it could get because of the humidity, and it could train. The thunderstorms go over one area several times. Generally, it doesn't look like it will be much of a concern in terms of flooding, though it definitely could pose a threat. I'm not saying it won't. Well, if you were to look at the total precipitation, you could see that it's not that much, and in areas where it is a little bit more, again, it's across the south and across the north and the central part of the country. It's not much, and especially with temperatures being in the hundreds and 90s, this isn't awfully a lot of rain. So, the soil dries out fast this time of the year. It's already warm. The sun is just beaming down most of the day. Even if thunderstorms do form, it's usually not the whole day that it's cloudy. It's just, that's just a typical summer thing. During the winter, if you get rain, it could be the whole day, it could be cloudy. During the summer, it's just more of a active, I guess, dynamic pattern where things switch back and forth pretty quickly. So notice that after that time frame, so around a week, really, just exactly a week, up until next Wednesday, Thursday, as of recording this video, it's early Thursday morning. Notice that we see a storm break out across southern Canada. This thing is pretty strong, and it kind of tracks across. It brings a good dose of precipitation across the Dakotas, kind of the bigger one of the past couple of weeks. And you can see it kind of initiate some thunderstorms up here, so that could be a first big storm, right? Up until then, though, it's mainly hot and dry. Notice after that, we see another, really just a beast come through across southern Canada into Manitoba, Saskatchewan, into portions of Ontario and Quebec. This thing really brings in a lot of cold air. You can see quite a bit of cold air. Not cold, but chilly air for July. So that would be nice to, I guess, experience that. And there's at least some early indications that may be happening, but that's at the earliest midway through July. Up until then, it looks like we're in for a lot of heat. And I notice we see another storm come through, and this one also brings in chillier air. So if we were to look at the 2-meter temperature anomaly at this time, you would see cool air across the northern U.S. Now, it's not substantial. It's not amazingly cold, where it's feels chilly, but it's enough to provide relief, and you can see in some areas it is downright just way below average. But that is going to be very, very welcome, as if you were to look across up until that time frame, we just see heat, constant heat. A few patches of a little maybe cooler air across the west and across the Midwest, but it really is just more dominated by the heat. Notice across Canada, the heat is just, it's just explosive. A little bit of cooler air right here across Oklahoma, you may be wondering what are these little bubbles of cooler air. That's most likely to do with thunderstorms. You know, thunderstorms are tall, they tap into the cool air across the atmosphere, and it kind of brings it down in their downdrafts into straight line winds, and that kind of cools things off. But notice, just generally warm conditions, and you know, even if it's 6 to 9, 10 degrees above average, that's just downright hot, especially since it's the hottest time of the year. I've been saying this so many times because I mean, look at this. This map in terms of the anomalies looks all over the place. You know, some areas above, some areas below. But if you were to look at the 2 meter temperature shaded, it just looks absolutely, you know, hot across much of the United States. It's early July. It's literally the hottest time of the year for the United States. Towards the end of July, you know, it's relatively the same. Things maybe start cooling off a bit, but it generally things still stay pretty warm, but it's a little bit cooler. But you can see that this stays just above average through at least next week, and until that second big storm comes through. You can see that kind of delivers that pack of cool air. This will be well received and welcomed. You can see just widespread 70s and upper 80s. Upper 70s, lower 80s. That's nice, but look at the heat down here at this point. Just oppressive. You can see very chilly across portions of southern Canada, but you know, if this were to come true, that would be nice. But the thing is that with that, the heat across the south may become more oppressive, and across the southwest. I mean, just look at those highs. That's very hot. You know, it's not unusual. It's not record breaking, but it is rather dangerous. And the European model has a similar thing. It has cooler temperatures across the northeastern United States, but then very, very, very just remarkably hot conditions across the southwest. So let's take a look at the European and take this one by one. So notice that right now we're looking at the 500 millibar the geopotential height. This basically shows us where the heights are above or below average. You can see the reds, the oranges. It's a nice ridge. It's warm. A little bit of cool across the northwest and the northeast, kind of like the omega patterns, like the Greek symbol, Greek letter in the Greek letter, so it kind of represents that. And you can see that after a while it kind of breaks down. We start seeing a little bit of, you know, heat trying to build back in across the parts of the central U.S., and it does that for a while. But where it really builds is across the west. I mean, once you get that purple color, that's just dangerous. That's just downright brutal. You can see it literally maxes it out at 600 millibars right there. It just doesn't get hotter on this graphic. It literally can't unless this was updated. And you can see that that's just atrociously hot. I'm assuming parts of the southwest would just be beyond hot at this point. Now, whether or not this will change, we'll have to see. But notice, look, we have a cooler pattern across parts of the northeastern United States. So this is very interesting. This is kind of like a breaking thing. This has been just showing up in the recent model runs, but both of them are showing it. So it indicates a little bit of change in notice. Just absolute downright warm, and then, you know, chilly across the northeastern United States, which is a little bit unusual to what we've been seeing thus far. But the ensembles really aren't taking this well. You can see that in terms of the long range. They're showing more of just warm air. And again, it gets a little bit lighter orange because of lesser confidence, because it's further out. But generally just shows warm air for much of the country, which we'll have to wait and see whether this is accurate or not. You know, sometimes the ensembles don't really do the best job, if you will. But notice that the European does move out the warmest air out of the northeast and kind of replaces with average, at least average air. So we'll have to definitely see what that does. But as of now, just a very interesting dynamic pattern with a ring of fire followed by a couple of big storms in southern Canada, which could bring some cooler air. If you were to look at the 8 to 14 outlook in 9 through the 15th, so you know, the first half, above average across much of the U.S., and I agree with that. And a little bit drier and more wet towards the north, as you can see those. We will see those possibly, those storms riding across southern Canada, which will bring some precip into this northern U.S. You're going to notice that 6 to 10, almost exactly the same, just a little bit more above across the southeast, and warm across the much of the central to western U.S. as well, a little bit above across the west. So just warm for the next, I would say 15 days, solid 15 days. It's going to be above average and hot. So if this cool off does occur, it's going to be in the long range. So don't get all, you know, I guess excited about this, or, you know, hoping for that relief, because this may change. And I won't even title the video about this cool off. I'll just say probably something like dynamic, unique pattern, because it is. It's followed by heat wave, by a bunch of storms. Every pattern, if you think about it, is unique, so it's right to call it that. So now I want to show you the precipitation in terms of the long range, and let's see how much shows. I'll show you the total accumulated precipitation for 10 days. This is actually for more than 10 days. This is for closer to 15 days. You can see that anywhere where it is more wet, there is probably the south. You can see Florida, the southeast, and portions of into the northern plains where those storms will be riding across southern Canada. But notice, not much really going on across the central United States. So we'll have to see, but it seems like early signs are showing some large storm systems coming through. I won't mention any of the cool weather in this title because that's a little bit too far out, and nothing's really picking up. Even though the European and GFS are agreeing to a certain extent, it's still not enough to really warrant itself a title on the video. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something new. My next video will probably be Sunday. I'm taking a little bit of a break, but I will be back, and hopefully you will stay tuned to this channel. Hopefully you won't go. Consider subscribing, consider liking. If you watch to the end, you are an amazing viewer, an amazing fan. I truly thank you so much, and thank you guys for watching. See ya.